All right, we are not three as a crowd. We are 3 times as awesome because at Born Reviews we got Nick,
Jody,
Gabe,
and we are together to give you hopefully an awesome review on Padmaavat.
Here we go.
Born Reviews!
the book was better.
So, Padmaavat is a movie based on an epic poem or tale from many hundred years ago.
1300s was when this was supposed to be set.
There you go. All right, so it is based on, and he says loosely based on a historical event, and we'll get to that actual event later on in the review. So, Jody, before we get into our overall, how do we feel about the movie, tell us, who is Padmaavat?
She was a queen around the 13th century. We had to laugh because we had a little... No, it's the 14th century!
13th century,
It's 13th to 14th.
It's
one or the other.
It's the 1300s, which is where it's supposed to come from, which is technically the 14th century. We got a little confused on that one.
And they have left the video. How about we just... Who's Padmaavat? She was a queen. Got it. Gabe. Now, in the movie, the queen is not the queen of... What is the kingdom that she becomes a queen at?
The Rajput people.
Yes, right. So she's not the queen of them eventually. First, how does she become the queen?
She's out hunting for deer, and probably one of my favorite lines that she says is, I was out hunting for deer and caught a lion. So instead of shooting the deer, she's startled by the king of the Rajput people, who's there searching for pearls, and she ends up shooting him with an arrow. But it's such a he's in all white, and that was such a beautiful scene just to jump ahead. That was a great scene. Like, the cinematography in this movie is absolutely, it's probably the best. Forget about Bollywood.
So let's stay there for a second.
In general.
Why is the cinematography, why is the set pieces, why is it so awesome?
You know what? They did it correctly. They're so authentic. Like, even the tapestry, you could tell that there's not some cheap knockoff or something that you're going to find in the studio. You know, you have made a point about how
let's talk about that.
We just saw Aladdin. We thought it was awesome. But after seeing this, those outfits look cheesy. So, again, like he said, Aladdin. We didn't say Aladdin, so we haven't got there yet. We haven't got there yet.
Little bad pun there. But in Aladdin, Disney made film, American, for the most part, actors. The guy who played Aladdin is born in Egypt, actually. Right. But in that movie, I just watched it again with my family, and I noticed that the outfits were just, it was like you just went and bought them at Target or something. They were too bright. They weren't worn in. They weren't authentic looking like you mentioned. And even though it's not set in, a actual place in India, this is set in Agrabah, right, which I believe is just a fictional city or town, it is based on that kind of vein, right? And so I was asking him after watching Padmaavat, why didn't they bring in the guy who made Padmaavat or so many other awesome Indian films with the set pieces and do Aladdin? Because it would have made it even look that much more authentic. Padmaavat put Aladdin to shame when it came to costume design, set pieces, and if you really think about it, there's not really too many different places that they go to in the movie. Right. But wherever they go, it looks like you're actually inside there.
Right. Yeah. The cinematography was amazing, and again, the set pieces were so creative. For me, there was only one bad shot in the movie, and I don't know if you guys, it was that ostrich. Like, that had to be CGI, because obviously, how can you train an ostrich to do that? You know what I mean? But
grasping for straws.
Exactly. But that was like the only thing. But other than that, like, normally I can say that shot is bad, that shot is bad. I saw Gemini Man. A lot of those shots were bad, okay? I'm like, oh. But it was nothing that really took you out of that movie. The jewelry, the costumes, it was amazing. And honestly, this is probably, forget about Bollywood, in general, the most beautifully shot movie I've ever seen. It's amazing. It's really, really that good. Now, I did watch it on my 4K TV, and it streams on Amazon high def, so that's probably, I'm just saying. The
us in the slums here with our 1080p.
The only thing I'm disappointed is I know that this came out imagine seeing this in IMAX, like in a huge IMAX high def. That would have been awesome. But kind of like what you mentioned with the story, it's loosely based on this poem, and the original, I wanted to do some research because I had never
even actually been a painting. I'm not sure. It's based on something.
It's a poem.
I read that poem too.
It's a poem, and it was funny because the minute before the movie starts, they give you a disclaimer. So the fact that there's a disclaimer at the very beginning, this is not historically accurate. You knew that there was going to be some controversy surrounding this movie. And there still was controversy. Apparently, the director got assaulted. The set got destroyed and vandalized. There were protesters. So, obviously, that's a good thing they put that disclaimer there. But it's the original poem, basically, the new queen, I forget, Ragata is her name. I cannot pronounce it correctly. But the queen at the time wants to know if she's like the fairest one of the all. All I can think is like mirror, mirror on the wall. So she's got this magical talking parrot who says, no, Padmaavat's the fairest woman in the land. She's the most beautiful woman in the land. And then that's where her jealousy starts. So that's why her husband goes after her. And then there's other stuff that happened. There's like more magical element, but that's why I say it's loosely based on it. But, the story, I thought this was, as far as making it a movie and making it an epic movie, it was a lot better as far as the translation is concerned, if that makes sense. It translated better, taking that magical element out of it and just making it, down to really, in my opinion, human, that's just how we are,
It made it realistic.
It made it more realistic, exactly. Human intuition, human impulses, and, greed, power wants more power. People are greedy, no more. He wasn't really in love with her. That's what I remember watching this with my wife.
I don't know about that.
No, I'm talking about
Aladdin.
Aladdin.
So we'll get to him in a second, but I'm curious, Jody, what were your thoughts about some of the things that you thought were the best parts of the movie? What were some of those elements that you liked the most?
Aladdin. He was amazing.
He was terrifying. I don't know how I didn't pick up on this, but the catapults shocked me. Like, Nick was asking me to watch the movie. He's like, what did you think was underneath the drape? I was like, I don't know.
Statues? No.
When they bought the catapult, I was like, oh my gosh, here we go. This is for real.
Now, I've seen myself a lot of Lord of the Rings over and over. So for me, it was easy that those were catapults. But it was the first time they were like, what is that?
Yeah, what is this weapon?
Oh my gosh, but the ending blew me away.
So we're going to go right there.
Yeah, we're going to go right there. I'm going to bring, because we were talking about this before we started the film.
You asked.
The ending amazed me. So when Nick and I were watching, he's like, oh, the girls are going to fight. And I was like, no, they're going to die. Never. And so we had like this little, he was like, no, he's like, I think they're going to fight. And so we're watching it, and just the amount of courage to walk into an open fire like that. I can't
There's
imagine.
better ways to go.
There's definitely easier ways to go.
And that shows how brave those women are. That is not an easy thing. And Gabe and I are talking about what would happen if they didn't do that. What could happen, the
plundering, and just what would happen to those women, and what would have happened to their honor. So you understand that. Yeah. And the Johar, I believe it's pronounced. I don't know if I'm saying that right. The Johar. Like you mentioned, Jody, apparently it's only happened like a couple times in history. But man, that was such a powerful statement where it empowered those women. Like, this is our last stand. So I agree with you. That was probably the most powerful message of the movie.
Yeah, the army's gone. The warriors are dead. And she even mentions it to her husband, the king, beforehand. She says that he doesn't get me, basically. And I'm sugarcoating a lot. But he doesn't get a chance to be with me. I'm not going to be his. And so this is going to be my way of taking control of who I am and taking control of myself. And this is what we're going to do, but I need your permission. He said, go for it. And so he understood where she was coming from. That was, for me, a really surprising part. I don't want to say I didn't like that part, but when you have someone like Padmaavat, who in this story, most beautiful woman of all, I'm thinking, this is a waste. Get out the sword and just kill that guy. I mean, this guy is so enamored by her. He never gets a chance to see her.
And really. I love that.
Right.
I love that.
I mean, for me, that was tragic. But I mean, this guy, you're going to be able to catch him off guard and just right to the gullet or something like that.
Right.
But I mean, she was a strong woman. She was doing the best for her kingdom in her way and protecting the rest of the people that were alive, which were the women. But I want to talk about my favorite thing, and it didn't start off this way, but
your favorite thing.
Hey, you guys talk now. Now it's time for who they even came here to listen to. All right, now is the best part of the review. But
say it.
Just click pause.
My favorite part of this movie is Aladdin.
Yes.
Okay.
Cross over to the dark side. Finally.
I did not like him the first hour of the movie, maybe the first 45 minutes, because he's just that typical overconfident. I can do whatever I want. I could be with whoever. I mean, this guy is about to get married, and he's already cheating on his future wife.
On his wedding night. That guy is
around the corner. Like, he's not even trying to hide it.
That was probably one of the coolest scenes of the movie, because then somebody walks in on him and busts him, and he's like, what if the Sultan found out? He's like, who's going to tell him? You? And then he just nonchalantly goes, boom, pokes him really quick in the neck, and goes back, and
he goes back to it.
I love it.
I mean, he's basically a no one. He tells the new Sultan, or the future Sultan of Delhi, I'm a very capable person. And what Aladdin wants, Aladdin gets.
Right.
And so I did not like him at first. But he is the best part of the movie. Ranveer Singh portrays this character, and he does a phenomenal... I mean, he was committed the entire time. In our trailer reaction, I said, oh, well, there's the villain. It's going to be over the top.
Right.
It was over the top, but it was fantastic. I mean, this guy, at one point, his troops were bored, so he says, let's do some wrestling. And he decides, I'm going to knock all of them out. And I'm going to show them why I'm the king of the mountain. And I'm going to go back to sulking and waiting for Padmaavat and Padmaavat and Padmaavat. And he's so obsessed. I mean, I could talk forever about this guy. But one cool fact that I found out about Ranveer Singh, who plays Aladdin, when I'm watching the movie The King and the Queen of Rajput, they have some chemistry, but not a lot of chemistry.
Right.
Padmaavat, as I'm watching the movie, this is no joke, and Aladdin, even though I couldn't stand him and I liked him so much, I kind of wanted to see what would happen if they got together, because it felt like they had some chemistry. Fun fact, I found out they are married in real life.
They are married in real
life.
life.
And they've been in many movies together, so excellent job making him the bad guy, where the king's like, no, that's my wife, but really, it's Aladdin's wife.
We joke all the time that on the channel that something's wrong with me because I love villains. Love the last Joker movie. They finally gave me what I wanted. It's not the only thing wrong with me. But this is how you do a villain. And you do a villain right. And you give him that backstory. And you see how he rose through the ranks. And you see why he has that confidence, because he's never failed at something. This guy was actually, they tried to assassinate him the way he assassinated his own uncle to become Sultan, and it didn't work. This guy is, nothing can touch him, and he's never failed, which is why I think Padmaavat's last statement of, well, this is one battle you're not going to win, was so strong, because he's never failed. Nope. I think that they gave
Tom
him...
Brady of the
He's the Tom Brady of the...
But at the same time, I am curious if he would have won that battle with the king, had his men not stepped in. That was so messed up. That upset me when they shot the arrows. Are you kidding? Like, we're going to play it that way?
Listen, it's not a perfect movie, and I will tell you right now, the only problem I had, other than a CGI ostrich, only problem I had with this film was that part, and it bothered me so much. I remember thinking back to Troy, because let's be real, this is the king. If he falls, you already know what's going to happen. And why would you go back out there after he's already betrayed you so many times and he's shown he has no honor? And what did you think was gonna? He even tells him as he's fighting at the end, you have no honor. And the guy says, "There's no honor in war." This guy's shown he's just.
I'm here to win.
I'm here to win. Yeah. So why would he go out there and then put his people in that position? And I get it. He has honor, but even Padmaavat, one of the things we didn't mention, not only was she beautiful, but she was wise beyond her years. She kept warning him, this guy is not honorable. Don't give him what he wants.
Don't even meet him face to face.
Don't even meet him face to face, because and she tried to warn him, but for whatever reason, whether it was customary or it was just in his nature, he kept trying to be the bigger person. Like, you really see, they try to wait him out. They weren't trying to fight right away. He was
hoping for, honor amongst kings. He was hoping for that. He underestimated his opponent.
And I think that's probably where they failed that character, because I kept thinking to myself, come on, dude, you got to be smarter than that. That's what I was thinking. Like, I'm not going out there after you already imprisoned me, after you've already done all these things. Like, you're underhanded. There's no way I would be doing that. And
but at the same time,
to me, I felt like
it
was.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just saying, to me, I just felt like it was a little. If anything, maybe we gave Raja Singh's character, the Sultan, too much screen time, and we didn't give Ratan, I believe his name was, Ratan, enough time so that we know where he gets this conviction from, or why does he feel like he has to be so honorable. Does that make sense?
Well, if he's born,
no, go ahead. You're going to say what I'm going to say.
If he's born into royalty, that is what you're taught from day one. I mean,
I didn't think
true
about that.
King, and then you have this street rat, so to speak, who rose up by being devious. I mean, complete polar opposites, right?
100%.
You know what? I didn't think about that. Okay, Jody, there we go. You learn something new every day. Okay.
Not to pull Aladdin from Disney in, but it's the same with Jafar.
Right.
He tells Aladdin that he was a street rat like him. And he stole and worked his way to the top, and that's why. And
Aladdin's able to figure out what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because he's been there.
Gotcha. Okay,
now,
so that makes sense.
In my opinion, I don't have just one or two small issues with it. This is not a perfect movie. Okay, so let me get into some of the negatives here. Here's all the boos and the hates. This is the part you did not come for.
Dislike.
But I gotta be honest. I'm always gonna be honest. My biggest issue with this movie is the story. I feel like there's not much story there. It's a great love story. It really is. I don't even have a problem with the runtime. But for the runtime, you've got to give me a little more than what I got. And even the love story itself between the king and the queen, Padmaavat and what was his name? Ratan. Again, I felt some chemistry, but there wasn't much to that story. And then they got back to their kingdom, and it was just business as usual. There wasn't a lot of character development. You have Aladdin, and thank goodness for that. But there was some certain parts, even with Aladdin storyline, where the screenwriters made it way too convenient for him to rise to power. For example, the Sultan of Delhi, he is seeing and realizing maybe this guy is more dangerous than I think. He just has taken over like the whole Mongol or whatever's going on, this invasion. He's defeated all of them. Maybe I should check in on him. And he does, but what does he do? He brings him this slave that he found who ends up being really dangerous, ends up being the main right-hand guy of Aladdin. He gives it to him. Aladdin whispers in his ear, hey, kill this guy and you're my guy. And then the guy kills the Sultan right away. The story writers, they gave him the way to become Sultan in such an easy and a cheap fashion. I would have wanted a different way. I would have wanted at least some kind of battle sequence where the guards are coming in. And I know he fought some guards, but my point is the direction that it went in, the story, for me, it just kind of fell a lot flat. The acting was good. The cinematography, the visuals were great. Aladdin was great. Padmaavat was great. But the rest of it was just okay for me. So how do you feel? Do you think the story was substantial enough?
I think that this movie it would have benefited from being longer. And what I say by longer is if you split it up into two movies, kind of like Bahubali 1 and Bahubali 2, okay, split up into two movies because where I did feel that, again, the chemistry between Padmaavat and Ratan was not there. We didn't get to see their relationship build. It wasn't organic. And that's because they spent so much time developing, the Sultan, and he was a perfect character. We didn't get enough there. So I do agree with you there, but I love the villains. So the fact that they gave me a movie that's surrounded around the villains.
No, and they hit the nail on the head. But again, when the parts that did not have Aladdin, which there was some parts,
right.
Let's say half the movie, again, it fell flat. And I had no problem with the actor that played the king. I really did. I mean, his mustache was glorious. He really was. This guy was jacked. I like the guys who really put in the work because that's not easy to get your body in that kind of shape. And he looks like a fearsome king that could defend his kingdom. So that was great. But I just honestly, for all the Indian movies I've seen so far, for me, this was the slowest one. And for me, it wasn't worth it. The ending was a little more powerful, obviously. The villain was great, but it was just okay.
Yeah, the ending was the best part.
Ending was the best part. Ending was the best part, as well as, again, the acting chops of my boy Ranveer Singh.
Woo.
And again, I think I finally, how when you ask for something, be careful what you ask for. I always say, why don't we spend more time exploring the character of the bad guys, of the antagonists? Well, when you spend too much time with the antagonist, then the protagonist doesn't get enough character development.
Yeah.
And that's probably what happened in this film. With that being said, though, I think that, again, just the shots alone, and I would have liked to have seen this. If how sometimes they re-release movies in theaters, if they do that, I would love to see it on IMAX.
I think you're looking at it more of a work of art.
Yes,
and film
absolutely.
Is art than a film, than a movie, a complete.
Right. The story, it had a few plot holes in it, and I think that they had to. Again, to give it that authenticity, that realism, they had to really stray from the original poem where you got a magical bird and there's even like gods that are involved in the poem. It's a little bit different. So they had to kind of make it more realistic. But, your concerns are valid.
Let's get to some grades, huh?
Some grades. Ooh, grades. All right, I'll go first. Since I loved it and I think that villains are the new wave. Let's think about the last big movies, especially here in Hollywood. Joker, a villain. Okay. What was the Split villains. I love villains. Yes.
Oh, don't ruin James McAvoy's sport.
I love it.
I love him in
Villains. So I love this movie. It's not a perfect film. Again, it should be split into 2 movies, so I'm gonna give it like a B+. B+. That's my grade.
Oh, you're going to A. That's not too high, but it's still decent.
What? B+? I think it's, again,
before I bring
even when I say, man, what happened to the good guy? Because, I'm never in there for the good guys. But I'm like, man, they should have given him some more dialogue. Give him a couple more lines in there. They cut his part short.
A few crumbs?
Okay.
Before I bring the pain, what is your grade?
I would say more like a C. Because, again, I'm biased. Not my style movie. And it was way too long. I could have done an hour and a half. That's my kind of movie. I don't like 2-hour or longer movies.
Okay, so this is really tough for me. For my grades, a B or an A means I really, really liked it. A C is okay, but it's beginning of that not so fresh grade. We didn't mention, I love the part where Aladdin's army is there ready to invade the great walls of the castle, so to speak, and the people on the other side, the Rajput, are just sitting still, and like, why are we sitting still? And they keep going forward, and all of a sudden it's like Indiana Jones, and the ground just falls out, and they just crumble down into that abyss. Where that was awesome. Those kind of things were great. That made that impenetrable kingdom. But overall, enjoyability, story, direction, it really wasn't there. The acting was, and so the visuals were great. I'm gonna give it a C+. I got to do it. It was between a B- and a C+. I got to do a C+. I thought I was going to bring more pain. She brought the pain. So hate on her, even though she's the breadwinner of this YouTube channel.
Stop.
She brings the views and we love it. But I'm giving it a C+.
Okay. I think the last thing I want to mention about this video is acting chops. A lot of times, you see an actor and they get typecasted as one specific actor. They can only play a villain, or they can only play the heroine or the hero or whatever. Who is this guy?
Ranveer Singh.
Ranveer Singh. What other role is he in?
No. We're going to save that for our next review.
We're going to save it for our next review. But when you see him in 2 different roles, you're like, this guy's a serious actor. Holy cow. He's still not better than Mr. Perfectionist. That's just, Amir Khan is my man, dude. Amir Khan's my man.
We'll get into that with our next review. We will be reviewing a movie. We'll let you see if you can figure it out next that has Ranveer Singh in it. And hopefully you'll enjoy that review. But if you enjoyed this one, then go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Go ahead and
subscribe.
There you go. All that stuff is great. Go ahead and give us some comments. And check out our Patreon page in the description link below. And check out
our Instagram account, because I'm going to start putting up pictures of behind-the-scenes video.
And it's not as fancy as you think. But
it's fun.
With that being said, until next time.
Later.
Bye.